Hope you're all doing well. For today's lesson, we're gonna just jump right into Photoshop. I'm here on Unsplash, and I'm just gonna kind of grab my first image here, just whatever it is. It looks like these little paper angel-looking things, which are neat. Remember, you click twice to get to the largest image, and then you can just drag it to Photoshop, and there we go. Okay. So to refresh on the text tool that we learned about last time, just to go over some of the basics again. Remember, we hit either T on the keyboard, or we can come over and click the T button here, right there, in case you're lost. And once we click that, we can do a number of things. We can just simply click and then type. Okay. When we're done typing, we can click the check mark. Then we can select the move tool and move this around as though it was almost like an image, right? It comes over here as its own layer, and it's editable typeface from there. Okay, really neat, right? Okay, to change the color of the font, we can click on it once, click on it twice, and then we can select a color that more closely matches the theme or whatever of the image. Then we click the check mark, and we're good to go. Remember, we can click the move tool or V and move it around, replace it, reshape it, resize it, rotate it, kind of do whatever we need to do with that. But we always click the check mark when we're done. Right? Right. Okay. We also talked about how to draw on a path using the pen tool. So if we were trying to, for example, follow the shape of a bowl, I'm going to put an anchor point here and an anchor point there. When I put that second anchor, I hold my click down, and then it brings out these little like guiding arm things. The longer we stretch them out, the more bendy they get closer to the front anchor point. So it's a little bit of a dance. You got to figure out what to do, and that's pretty close there. Okay, and then we can go back to the text tool. Wait for our cursor to turn to a squiggly line, and then we click, and we can say hello, and see it follows that path that we created with the pen tool. We also talked about how to create how to create a path based on your selection tools. So I'm going to hit W, go back to my background, so I'm sure to grab actually a layer that has something. And that's not it. Command D to deselect. I'm just going to kind of grab that front. Then I right click, and then I click make work path. Click OK on my tolerance. Usually a higher number is good. Then I come to my text tool, click there, and then I can type. And it wraps around that path that we made out of that layer. Okay? Sweet. Feeling good. Cool. Okay. So today we're going to introduce what are called gradients. Gradients are a lot of fun, and they can be used in a number of ways. We're going to kind of start with the basics today. Essentially what a gradient is, it's right over here. The keyboard shortcut is G, and right there we got our little blurb. Creates a gradial blend between colors. It's very nice. Okay, so I'm going to create a new layer by hitting the plus sign here. Just a blank layer there. And then I'm going to go to my gradients. Okay, so I hit G. And if we go up to the settings here, we'll find that we have all of these. And in fact, it just occurred to me that you may not have these, because this is the newest version of Photoshop. I'm on 2021. And I think you guys are still on 2020, so you may not have all these. We'll double check here in first period. But if you don't, it's okay. We'll work around that. We'll just stay with the basics, because I'm pretty sure you should have basics. In the 2021, actually it might be the 2020 version. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I'm sorry. There's so much to know. We've got all of these selectable pre-programmed gradients. They're really nice. But at its basic, it wants to transition from one color to another color. Okay, so for example, this one is blue to white. However, you can add more colors. So we have this sort of turquoise to blue to pink, you know, pink to orange to red to blue, you know, and so on. So you can have more than one or more than two colors. You can have, you know, 5 colors if you really want to put them in there. But let's start with just a basic. We'll go black to white, okay? So what I do is once I've selected my gradient, the farther so what you do then is you click and then you point the direction that you want your gradient to go and then you let go, okay? Now, just like we learned in Lightroom, the tighter this transition this is, so the smaller my line here, the more abrupt the transition will be. See, there it is, black to white. But if I stretch it all the way out here, it's going to be a much more gradual transition as opposed to a short and tight transition. All right, so how to change the color in case we're on an older version of Photoshop. This works just like a color picker, okay? It's a little bit involved here, so what we have to do is click these little black and white squares here at the bottom, and then we click the color picker here. So I'm going to click this, and I'm going to do sort of a natural transition of these colors. So I'm going to come up here and grab that, and this sort of like, I don't know, off green here will be my starting point. And then my finishing point will be kind of this tan-ish color here. There we go. So just, it's kind of gross, but whatever, it works. This is how we do it. Okay. And from there to there, that will be my new gradient. So if I click OK, and I start there and then go diagonal, my gradient will be like that. Now, obviously, this is at a 100% opacity, so it's not very useful to me until I change my opacity of that layer and kind of dull it down. Now it kind of gives an overall mood to the whole image, makes it more what we would call editorialized, right? Gives an application overall to give them sort of a common depth of a common image depth. They all look like they're in the same sort of field of view now. Okay? So that is gradients in brief, okay? So if we want to do something a little more, fun or whatever, we can, again, click on that color picker, and we can, do something, like this, and we just repeat the process here. I always go to pink. I don't know why. And then we'll go there. So we have this kind of nice pink to orange. Okay. Now, if we want to add another stop, we just right-click. And then we have to fill in here that I want that one to be blue. I want this one to be green. And I want this one to be yellow. Okay, so now that's my, well, it's effectively a rainbow there. Okay, so now that's my gradient that I just created. So if I go like that, now I've got the rainbow on top, right? And remember, my opacity is 30%. I must remark that that was a total coincidence that I made that rainbow and it actually turned out like it's supposed to be. That's kind of funny to me. So anyway, so there we go. We've got gradients. Remember, as we stretch that out, the more gradual the transition between those colors will become. Okay? Cool. All right, so that's gradients. Let's talk again about the text tool. So I'm going to create a new layer of text here just by clicking and typing. Okay, and then as soon as I hit the check mark, I get a new layer, which is just a text layer. Okay, now why are we going back to the text layer? Well, the text tool is something that we will use repeatedly. Okay, and when we turn off this, we can see that this is what the shape is. If we're not looking at these as letters, which is what our brains will do, we could think of these as just shapes. okay? And that's how Photoshop views them. And when we have a layer that is just shapes, we can do this neat thing where we can create a selection out of that layer. What you're going to do is come over here, and you're going to do what's called a command click. It's also a control click on a PC. So if I hold down command and I hover over the thumbnail here, so I'm holding down command with my keyboard and I hover over that thumbnail, you see how I get that marching ants box. Okay? Now watch what happens as I do this. So I'm going to hold down command and click. All of a sudden, my type, my shapes of type there, became a selection. Now from here, I can apply that selection to anything. I can turn this off, and you'll see now that I've got just marching ants around where that was, around where my shaped text was. It just occurred to me that this font will not be great for this example, so I'm going to just briefly and quickly start over here. So give me 1 second. Oops, excuse me. Command D, delete, and keep that one, delete this one. Okay, sweet. So I'm going to go back to the text tool. I'm going to click, and I'm just going to do a regular font here, and I'm going to say December is the best. Okay, and then I'll just click there and get my move tool. I'm going to make this rather large so it's more easy to see. Okay, all right, so again, we can make this a selection by option clicking this guy. So option and click, option and click, and then I get my marching ants around those. So then I'm going to create a new layer here, and if I turn off visibility of this layer like that, then I've just got my marching ants. Now remember, selections will stay active even if you change layers or change tools or whatever. So now I'm going to go to the gradient tool, and I'm going to just put a gradient right there. Check it out. Remember, selections allow us to define the area in which we work, and in this case it was the text that we grabbed earlier. Okay, so I can do these gradients sideways, I can do them up, I can do them down, left, right, whatever. Okay, so we can, if we want to go top to bottom, we can just go top to bottom, just like that. If we want to go side to side, we can go side to side, just like that. Okay? Sweet. So then we can hit Command D to deselect, and now we have this nice gradient color of text. Okay? Now the rainbow's great, it is, but I'm going to hit Command Z to bring back my selection here. And I'm going to make this more fitting to this image. So I'm going to delete these stops just by selecting them and then clicking delete. I want this to be a little bit more gradual this time. So I'm going to start over here with this wrapping paper tan. I'm going to finish over here. Wow, it's all the same color. But whatever, we'll click OK. I'm going to go back to my layer 1 where my selection is active. I'm going to hit my gradient there, and then click Command D to deselect. Now I have this nice gradient text. There we go. Okay, cool. There is no submission today. This will be, you're going to use all these skills next week when we make our festive holiday cards, and that will be a rather large assignment, so you'll want to submit for that. Okay, I hope you're all doing well, and I will see you all very soon. Take care.